Hey everyone! So, the first episode of My Hero Academia Season 5 is in the books, and I figure with the new season, I'd make videos casually going over my favorite parts of the episodes. Now, you all know me, I'm primarily a manga reader, so when I found out today's episode was a filler episode akin to the photography episode of Season 4's first episode, I was actually genuinely excited to see an original animation before the season kicks off. But I will warn those of you who are anime-onlys now, at the end of this video it will contain spoilers for episode 2 of My Hero Academia Season 5. These videos will be primarily spoiler-free until the end, and when I do spoil things, I'll make sure not to reference anything about the future of the story. Though when I see a nod to a certain Cloud Boy, I'll point to Vigilantes relatively quickly. So, if you want to see more Season 5 videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And when you hit that bell, make sure you change your notifications from personalized to all. That way you never miss a premiere here on the channel where we all get together and talk about whether or not this week's episode met our expectations. But enough rambling. Let's head inside and grab ourselves a drink. Welcome to the bar, folks. So, Season 5, Episode 1. To think that My Hero Academia has finally reached its 5th season is amazing, and this season alone has so much planned, but these videos aren't going to be intensive breakdowns like my chapter reviews. Instead, I'll be highlighting my favorite moments from the episodes, and today's season premiere was more of like an episode 0 rather than an episode 1, because the first episode of the season always acts as a kind of refresher. We re-meet the characters, and to a degree, this episode kind of felt like it was the animators stretching their legs. There's high expectations going into Season 5. With everyone having access to social media these days, those that have stuck to being anime only and have managed to avoid giant spoilers are to be commended at this point. But like I said, I know what's gonna happen, so instead I'll be highlighting some of my favorite scenes from the episode, and at the end we'll talk about what's gonna be covered in the next week's episode. So let's head over to the wall and talk a little bit more about Episode 1 of Season 5. Okay, so before we even talk about Episode 1, let's talk about that brand new opening. Not only is it a straight up bop, it gives us the opportunity to see some of our favorite heroes get their outfits winterized. Also, the opening does kind of spoil the fact that a certain general studies student is joining the cast for this arc. Either way, I feel like it's always a good sign when the opening gets you psyched to watch the episode, and it's been forever since we've gotten a My Hero Academia opening. And during this particular opening, we get several glimpses about what's going to be happening during this season. Anywho, it finally kicks off with a recap of the Prominence burn scene that happened at the end of Season 4. And I know I didn't talk about it then, but man, was this an amazing scene. The staff certainly outdid themselves for the finale of Season 4. They really ended on a high note. And as we move back to the present in My Hero Academia, back in the classroom, today's lesson is an emergency villain drill. Turns out for this mock lesson, villains, quote-unquote, have broken into UA, and the kids of 1A must assemble and assess the damage and potential threats. They dress in their hero outfits and rush to the training grounds, splitting into 3 different teams: Rescue, Recon, and Bakugo. Now, the big reveal for this chapter is that the villains and the person in danger are our favorite third years at UA. The big 3, with Amajiki and Hato playing villains and Mirio acting as literally the best part of the entire episode. And when I mean the best part, I mean the best. His comic relief had me dying. The first time we see him floating in the river towards a busted bridge, and then when he falls off the bridge the second time and just spins in the river doing the Ralph Wiggum, "I'm in danger." It was hilarious. I was laughing so hard. Easily is my favorite part of the episode. Though on the rescue side of things, I do have to point out that Mineta, despite the shit that we give him, has a really good quirk when it comes to rescue like this. If he wasn't an absolute creeper, I think people would give him a lot more credit, because he pretty much stopped a bridge from collapsing with not that many grapes. And on the recon side of things, Jiro, Shoji, and Koda didn't let me down either, but you could tell that everyone was like, okay, for this episode, we want everyone to use their quirks, and 1A is stacked with every type of reconnaissance possible when you think about it. You have echolocation and radar through heartbeats and a guy with a million eyes, and you have somebody who literally has the quirk of Dr. Dolittle. But it's kinda cool that we got a taste of every single student's quirk during this week's episode. I mean, even the invisible girl did something this episode. So yeah, pretty much the episode takes advantage of the full 22 minutes to introduce every single student once again, and they were able to do it in a manner that wasn't too boring. I mean, having Hato and Amajiki play villain was great, considering the last few episodes of Season 3 was Mirio dismantling the entirety of Class 1A. This just gives us the opportunity to see more of the Big Three, as well as provide some teaching lessons to our class of heroes. The fight starts with Hato taking Pinky hostage after Team Rainy Day stopped a huge building fire. And the main theme and lesson of this fight is always make sure the fight is finished. Follow through and never pull your punches. Because even though Amajiki had to be wrangled in by Hato, the fray begins half-heartedly with Sun Eater fending off the class begrudgingly. And that's when the learning moment happens, as the student who makes the mistake is Deku. Deku steps in and gets a clear shot provided him by Ojiro in his killer martial arts, but as soon as he goes in to connect, he pulls his punch. This is what sets off Sun Eater. Amajiki has a good head on his shoulders, and he knows that this is a learning experience, and he literally just witnessed a mistake, so he's got to make the kid pay for it, and he fucking decks Deku. And as Deku is laying on the ground, Amajiki lectures him about pulling his punches, but shortly after that lecture, Team Bakugo arrives before Amajiki can land a bigger hit on Deku, with Denki hotwiring a car using his mouth and Bakugo flinging Kirishima at Amajiki. They're able to throw off the third year just enough for Bakugo to land on him and immobilize him. But in typical Bakugo fashion, he calls out Sun Eater's hypocrisy with a brand new OST that I absolutely love. And the training ends with Eraserhead calling for Bakugo to head to his office, probably because once again, he took it a little too far. And the episode ends with an after-credit sequence back at the hospital with Endeavor. He's resting and playing back the events that occurred against the Nomu, and that's when we get the reveal that Dabi showed up to finish the job. And that's when the scene abruptly moves back to the point of view of Dabi and reveals that Hawks might be in cahoots with the League of Villains. Now us manga readers know what's going on here, so stay quiet, goddammit. Anywho, as for episode 2 of My Hero Academia, my guess is it's gonna have that conversation between Hawks and Dabi, and on the flip side of the conversation, Hawks with the Hero Commission. We know that from what we can infer from the preview for next week. Additionally, we're probably going to get a little bit more elaboration on the final scenes of Season 4 when Deku destroyed his room, seeing the vestiges of One For All. We'll probably get a little bit more of the first user of One For All, and at the end of episode 2, we'll get the announcement of the joint training arc. Now, as for the episode in general, I thought that it was a solid episode to start Season 5. Like I said in the beginning, I'm a fan of the original animations now that I'm manga only. So as long as they don't deviate from the story and pull a Promised Neverland and finish the entire story in 8 episodes, I'll be cool with it. As for the animation and character design itself, let me know if you guys also think that the characters are drawn a little bit different this season. I don't know why, but in the beginning of the episode when I first saw Deku and Shoto, their faces looked a little bit off. I mean, don't get me wrong, as each season goes on, it looks like Deku is getting more and more buff, but the character design here just felt a little bit off. I guess in a way, it kind of looked more and more like Horikoshi's actual drawings. Though after being without this anime for almost an entire year, I really forgot that I enjoyed watching the anime because the actors bring a whole new amount of depth to the characters that they're portraying. There's tons of subtle nuance that occurs to satiate the hunger of manga readers, and I feel like that's a big part of this as well. I know some people are like, I'm not even gonna watch the anime because I read the manga, but I would disagree. I feel like the anime brings a whole new level to admiring the work. And all in all, despite being a filler episode, I thought it was a great way to kick off the season. After the joint training arc, the series is gonna take a turn and progressively get darker and darker. There really isn't room for much levity after the back half of the season, so it's nice to see that they got some goofy and fun stuff out of the way before having to go in and tackle something super serious. But if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to be doing more episode breakdowns like these every week, so I hope you enjoy them. If you did though, be sure to hit that like button, and we're almost to 20,000, so be sure to subscribe. Though for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.